We are living in very challenging and historical times. The world is going through what seems to be an endless stream of social and political unrest, as if the catastrophe caused by the COVID pandemic were not enough. And no country has been spared with a widespread disruption of business and people's daily way of life. For this reason, the Ramon Magsaysay Award was put on hold last year in 2020. But not this year. Just like so many frontliners who have gone out of their way to persist and do their jobs amidst various challenges, we too have committed to do ours and to make today's awarding ceremonies a reality. We also draw inspiration from our 2021 Magsaysay laureates who continue to perform their work with much passion and courage during these trying times. We owe it to them to give them the recognition they richly deserve and celebrate with their teams and the communities they serve. And we owe sharing these stories to the rest of the peoples of Asia that need and yearn for more stories and more role models that give hope and inspiration. A virtual celebration coordinating 5 teams in 4 countries was no easy feat. This called for more elaborate preparations, countless and complex communications, coordination, and logistics to put it all together. Happily, so many people and organizations stepped up to cooperate and provide the help our Manila team needed. From the awardees staff to the Philippine ambassadors in Indonesia, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. From the various support groups in Manila to Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. and his team at the Department of Foreign Affairs. And to Mr. Gilbert Santamaria and his team at Philippine Airlines, assisting us in the timely delivery of the medals. It was an admirable show of bayanihan, the spirit of working together for a common goal of celebrating greatness of spirit in Asia. We are particularly elated to be here today, very proud to be Asian, and showing you all the results of these collaborative efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the honor to share with you the 63rd Ramon Magsaysay Award Presentation Ceremonies. The Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyang ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simuyat, sa langit mong bugaw. May dilag ang tulat, awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhati't pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
The Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Aurelio Montinola III.
Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo. Our honored awardees, past and present, members of the family of the late President Ramon Magsaysay, represented by Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr. and Mrs. Mila Magsaysay Valenzuela, government officials, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant day to you all. Welcome to the 63rd presentation ceremonies of the Ramon Magsaysay Award, a celebration of the most admirable accomplishments of Asia's modern heroes. Held back last year because of the stringent pandemic restrictions, the awarding of Asia's premier prize is here to inspire us again. The Ramon Magsaysay Award was created in 1957 to honor women, men, and organizations who exemplify the same values and ideals that animated President Ramon Magsaysay's principled leadership and selfless service to the people. This year's event is unlike any that we've seen in the past, again, due to the continuing threat of the pandemic. For the first time ever, there is no in-person ceremony. The foundation is instead harnessing digital technology to stage a 100% virtual event. This gives us a chance to be more creative and more inclusive as the ceremony is live-streamed all over Asia. This will be our biggest audience ever. We continue to give the Ramon Magsaysay Award because greatness of spirit is timeless. It is the virtue that is shared by all the laureates, and it is even more relevant today with a global health crisis, social and political conflicts, and widespread negativism overwhelming people everywhere. By celebrating the awardees' life work, we hold them up for their undaunted and untiring labor to overcome formidable challenges and release their fellow men from the sufferings that they endure. By their example, we can kindle our hope and believe that we too can do something. Every little effort counts. As Mother Teresa, 1962 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee advised, quote, "If you can't feed 100 people, then just feed one," unquote. We celebrate the Ramon Magsaysay Awardees because they consistently do what is good and what is right, and they make Asia a better place for all. Today, I am honored to invite you to cheer this year's outstanding laureates and their amazing stories. 3 men, 1 woman, and 1 young organization who are shining examples of transformative leadership. We have Muhammad Amjad Saqib, a faith-based visionary who created the largest microfinance institution in Pakistan and helped reduce poverty in the country. Firdausi Kadri, an accomplished woman scientist whose contributions to vaccine development and critical research have saved millions of lives in Bangladesh. Stephen Mansi. His lifelong dedication to humanitarian work, refugee assistance, and peace building has alleviated the suffering of displaced persons all over Southeast Asia. Watchdog. Media truth crusaders who used investigative journalism, documentary filmmaking, and digital technology to engage ordinary people and transform Indonesia's media landscape. Roberto Balion, a fisherman and community environmentalist who led the way in reviving a dying fishing industry by creating a sustainable marine environment in southern Philippines. Today, we are joined by all of Asia. We are one in welcoming the remarkable 2021 Magsaysay laureates. And we hope to be also one in taking their advocacies to heart and in emulating their pursuit of a better Asia. Let me quote Ananda Galapati, 2008 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee from Sri Lanka. Quote, "When conditions are right and enough goodwill is present, the capacity of joint efforts to transcend the limitations of individual actions is quite extraordinary." Unquote. Indeed, there is no limit as to what we can do when we are one and proud to be Asians. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I am delighted to welcome all of you to the 63rd Ramon Magsaysay Award presentation ceremonies. Thank you and good afternoon.
The members of the Board of Trustees will now read the citations for the 2021 awardees.
The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Roberto Balion. An archipelago in the Coral Triangle, the global center of marine diversity, it is not surprising that the Philippines is one of the top fish-producing countries in the world. Yet, the tragic irony is that fishermen are among the poorest labor groups in the country. Traditionally unorganized, municipal fishermen have suffered the most as their life-sustaining resource, the marine environment, is severely degraded. One fisherman has broken the mold by leading his community in preserving the coastal environment that has been the life source for generations of fishing families. He is Roberto A. Balion, fondly called Kadodoy. Growing up in Barrio Concepcion, in Cabasalan, Zamboanga, Sibugay, Dodoy knew the realities of diminishing fish harvests in once rich fishing grounds. How his father, like other fishermen, would spend long hours at sea and come home earning barely enough to buy rice for the family. Unable to go to college due to poverty, Dodoy knew he would have to go back to the sea and take command of the situation he was in. In 1986, Dodoy and 36 other fishermen started Kapunungan sa Gagmayng ng Mangingisda sa Concepcion, or KGMC, or Association of Small Fishermen of Concepcion. Seeing how rampant fish pond conversion had destroyed the mangrove forests, KGMC decided to focus on mangrove reforestation. In its difficult beginnings, the association saw that its members reduced to just 5, but Kadodoy, the association chairman, persisted. Their perseverance attracted government support, reaching a milestone when the fishermen were granted tenurial rights to the reforested land under a government forestry co-management program. By 2015, the area they had replanted had expanded to 500 hectares of mangrove forests. What was once a desert of abandoned fish ponds was now an expanse of healthy mangrove forests, rich with marine and terrestrial life. A day's fish catch increased 4 to 5 times over in half the time fishermen used to spend at sea. Improvement in the fisher folks' quality of life is evident in their ability today to buy a boat engine or simple household appliances and send their children to school. From a few members in the 1980s, KGMC now has a membership of 320 households. The group's success led to other projects. Group members were deputized in the municipal government's Bantay Dagat Volunteer Force to protect municipal waters from illegal fishing and mangrove logging. In partnership with development institutions, KGMC is engaged in livelihood projects like oyster production, crab culture, and seaweed farming. KGMC's initiatives have been replicated in other towns in Zamboanga, Sibugay. These and other changes have given new life to Cabasalan, now regarded as the seafood capital of the province and an ecotourism destination. A key mover in this transformation is Dodoy Balyon. His self-sacrificing leadership has transformed his community. When Dodoy and his fellow fishermen were starting out, and it seemed like there was no one to help them but themselves, he said, and I quote, "Our families depend on the sea for our survival, not on politicians or other people. So it is only right that we make its protection our priority." End of quote. In electing Roberto A. Balyon to receive the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes his inspiring determination in leading his fellow fisherfolk to revive a dying fishing industry by creating a sustainable marine environment for this generation and generations to come, and his shining example of how everyday acts of heroism can truly be extraordinary and transformative.
Roberto Balyon of the Philippines will now deliver his response.
Human beings, while capable of wars, are also capable of rising above themselves, choosing again what is good, and making a new start. These words from Pope Francis in his encyclical letter, Laudato Si, exemplify the choices I made and continue to make as an ordinary fisherman, to dauntlessly see riches from riches to ref, and thereby choose to rise, to choose what is good, and to choose to make a new start. By God's grace, standing before you at this moment, remind me of these humble choices that yielded fruits and even earned international recognition. Her Excellency Maria Leonor Robredo, Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, the Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, members of the Magsaysay family, represented by Senator John Magsaysay and Mrs. Mila Magsaysay Valenzuela, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Philippine government, officials, including Governor Welter Yap Palma of Zamboanga, Sibugay, and Mayor Katrina Valladares, my ever-supportive and proud company from Zamboanga Peninsula, including Mrs. Miladel Escapitanya, our fellow fisherfolk in the Philippines and across Asia, ladies and gentlemen, I am profoundly honored and pleased to be chosen as one of the awardees of the most prestigious award in Asia, in honor of the legacy of the late President Ramon Magsaysay. Never in my wildest dreams I think I will be counted among the array of great community leaders to become recognized by the foundation. As a simple fisherman, I only have one desire for the community that makes me do what I have been doing, to offer myself to self-provide better environment, sustainable livelihood, and empowered community to realize our vision and mission in life. That is, to have 3-8, agahan, hapunan, tanghalian, or 3-8. In English, 3-8. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, 3-8. If we have 3-8 or 3 meals in a day, I believe we would be content. But more than this, I see a hunger that not even 3 full meals could satisfy. Day after day, I see the need to strive for progress, to live harmonious life fulfilled by a sustainable and equitable coexistence in the coastal vicinities of Zamboanga, Sibugay. This has always been our aspiration as municipal fisherfolk, together with our government and other stakeholders, in preparation for a better and productive environment for the next generations. Because of this award, I am exceedingly grateful and hopeful that this platform could be a great mechanism to help our poor fisherfolk sector attain more leverage to sustainably manage our coastal resources. Through this stage, I am advocating my fellow fisherfolk in the entire archipelago that this initiative will be not stopped with this award, but will serve as a vehicle to sail smoothly and navigate towards sustaining our natural wealth. What kind of world do we want to live to those who come after us? To children who are now growing up, ask Pope Francis using the lenses of the same encyclical. Today, in the years to come, we respond to the daunting task in making the earth truly a home. To my fellow fisherfolk, let us help our government by keeping our coastal habitat protected and sustainably utilized. Let us support our fishery programs while being faithful to the laws and local policies that augment coastal measures in our pursuit for better production and environmental preservation. Let us take heed of the environmental crisis that continues to haunt us because of sheer apathy and personal interest, resulting in environmental abuses which badly affect the poor. Let us take the step of empathy, because progress entails sacrifices and unity. If our government fails, we also fails. If our government succeed, we also succeed. However, let us also be vigilant to the development that are offered. We don't just exist and be lavish with what the world can be rendered as, but take the proactive steps instead and see for ourselves what we can render to those who need us most. Let us not hook our destiny with the wish and means that our government has for us. We are capable of shaping our own. We break the silence of its dawn with noble purpose. Ours is not a passive waiting for whatever the government can do for us. Ours is the call to be proactive and thus help our government achieve its goal for the common good. My fellow fisherfolk, it is not our government leaders who have braved the waves and the storm to earn a good catch from the seas, while others just stand at the stretches of the coast. We find ourselves delving into deep because we are confronted with much deeper and greater responsibilities. This is where we earn a living. But beyond quenching these human needs is the vocation of give life to our natural resources, to see life from ridges to reef, and eventually bring life to our common home. To our family in the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, I am deeply grateful that you have recognized, if I may say, the collaborative efforts that empowered poor fisher folk like us, and thus take our initiative in a larger arena, which is now garners greater consciousness for the protection and conservation of our coastal environment. Thank you for making us realize that even the smallest effort that we exert for such advocacies are not futile and never stupid. Convinced that we shall reap more bountiful harvest, we are able to see that all these are appropriate actions, most valid, ethical contribution that we can offer to our future generation. Let me take this chance to render my sincere appreciation to our community development workers on the ground who have always been my company, even when the sail goes rough and perilous. To the local government unit of Kabasalan, who has given support since 2001 in the protection of our municipal waters until now. The Office of the Municipal Agriculture, despite having the least fund allocation, never cease to stir collaborative efforts with our fisherfolk organization and for cementing our strong policy support in the integrated coastal resource management. To the provincial government of Zamboanga, Sibugay, national government agencies like Department of Agrarian Reform, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the DABFAR or the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, the Department of Science and Technology, the Philippine National Police, and the Coast Guard for forcing us reach our potential and for supporting us in one way or another. To all our able partners who have been constant support, foremost to the Xavier Agriculture Extension Service Foundation of IPIL that honed my skill and talent in community development and coastal resource management. To the various non-government organizations, namely the Forest Foundation Philippines or FTFCF, Condora, the Peace and Equity Foundation or PAF, the EDC, the Isyadra, Rare Philippines, Pakisama, HID Foundation that funded our mangrove reforestation projects, strengthened our association, developed our leaders, and provided us functional technical knowledge and skills. To the various academic institutions, the Ateneo de Zamboanga School of Medicine, Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, MSU Naawan, UP Manila, for providing us scientific results as basis for our local legislation and ongoing programs. To my immediate community of Balonges, Concepcion Kabasalan, Zamboanga, Sibugay, the Kapunungan sa Gagmay Mangingisda sa Concepcion or KGMC, and the Coalition of the Municipal Fisherfolk Association in Zamboanga, Sibugay or COMFAS, for always believing in me, for tirelessly supporting me. To our local church in the Diocese of Ipil, for raising in me profound consciousness to the faithful despite of our very poor condition. For molding my values since my youth to be a grateful and responsible steward of God's creation. Lastly, and most importantly, I would like to thank my family, my parents, my siblings, who raised me and taught me fulfill my responsibilities as a leader. To my wife, Rebecca, and my 11 children, who are my source of joy and who give me strength and give light to the path I take every day. Let us see again, no matter how simple we are capable of rising above our weaknesses, capable of choosing what is good, and ever capable of making a new start. May this crusade continue until we can achieve our goal of becoming successful and progressive Filipinos in the entire nation and to the whole of Asia and the world. Mabuhay mangingisdang Pilipino. Damo gid nga salamat sa inyo tanan.
The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award. Stephen Munsey. People displaced by war, natural disasters, and extreme privation is one of the great tragedies of our time. It is an urgent challenge governments and international bodies must address. It must be faced as well on the ground with the victims of such displacement. This is the life work of one person and the organization he founded. Stephen Munsey is an American raised in a humble family rooted in the principles of Christian love for others. In 1980, he enlisted in a Baptist social ministry program that brought him as a volunteer to the Philippine Refugee Processing Center in Morong, Bataan, a transit center for Indo-Chinese refugees of the just-ended Vietnam War. Seeing the dire lack of psychosocial services in the camp, he formed a non-governmental organization, Community Mental Health Services, to address the need with support from the Norwegian government and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. In 1989 to 1993, Magsay's group extended their work to the Vietnamese refugee camps in Hong Kong. Renamed Community and Family Services International, or CFSI, the group defined itself as a humanitarian organization committed to the lives, well-being, and dignity of people uprooted by persecution, armed conflict, disasters, and other exceptionally difficult circumstances. Based in the Philippines, it has served for varying lengths of time in 10 Asian countries, with its longest involvement in the Philippines, Myanmar, and Vietnam. Over the years, CFSI has assisted refugees from 48 countries and territories. The range of its work is outstanding, from a back-to-school program for 900 child soldiers in Mindanao to helping hundreds of thousands in Myanmar with literacy and health training for women and girls and community water and sanitation facilities, and to an ongoing effort with the Australian government to provide livelihood assistance to some 40,000 persons who survived the Battle of Marawi in 2017. A major CFSI engagement is its role in the Mindanao Trust Fund program, a multi-donor effort administered by the World Bank to aid in Mindanao's socio-economic recovery, carried out in the context of negotiations for a comprehensive peace agreement between the Philippine government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. As project manager, CFSI implemented a portfolio of sub-projects ranging from water systems and health centers to alternative education, reaching at least 727,000 beneficiaries in 19 provinces. Part of its work was capacitating local institutions critical to a new regional government emerging from a history of conflict. CFSI's involvement clearly demonstrated the links of the various aspects of its mission, from relief and recovery to reconstruction and development to the building of peace. CFSI has a current staff of nearly 400 in 3 countries. What it has achieved is the effort of many, yet it is also the creation of its founder and leader. Stephen Magsay has been on this mission for 40 years, living outside his own country, working in a difficult environment with no thought of material rewards for himself. Asked about his career, Magsay self-effacingly said, and I quote, "I am so grateful for the opportunities that have allowed me to help a little. Grateful for the people who have been involved in this organization. Grateful for the blessings I have received from the community." End of quote. In electing Stephen Magsay to receive the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes his unshakable belief in the goodness of man that inspires in others the desire to serve. his lifelong dedication to humanitarian work, refugee assistance, and peace building, and his unstinting pursuit of dignity, peace, and harmony for people in exceptionally difficult circumstances in Asia.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Muncy will now deliver his response.
Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Robredo, distinguished government officials, members of the Magsaysay family, members of the diplomatic corps, fellow awardees, trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. Each year, Community and Family Services International, or CFSI, formulates a plan of action reflecting the theme for that year. The theme for 2021 is Exceed Expectations. Being named a Ramon Magsaysay Awardee during this, our 40th anniversary year, was a wonderful surprise, far exceeding our wildest dreams. In fact, we still worry someone is going to come up and pinch us and say, "Wake up, it's just a dream." Don't do that, please. This award is for we, not just me. The rest of the we is almost entirely Asian, younger, and far more attractive, which is good for all. The existence of CFSI is a response to man's inhumanity to humankind, and I do mean man, as it is rarely women who deliberately bring about such harm to other persons. Discrimination, violence, and persecution continue to force people to flee their countries, resulting in refugees in various parts of the world, including within Asia and from Asia. In addition, injustice, armed conflict, and disaster lead to lost lives, physical and psychological suffering, and persons displaced within their own country, sheltering in forests, evacuation centers, transitory facilities, anywhere but where they truly want to be, which is home. Most of the people served by CFSI have been forcibly displaced, some repeatedly, within their homelands or across national borders. Some have been denied citizenship, becoming stateless in the land that has long been their home, as well as the home of their ancestors. While refugees and internally displaced persons are resilient and have many strengths, it must be very clear: forced displacement is harmful and painful. We believe such vicious assaults on the lives, well-being, and dignity of children, women, and men must come to an end now. Although our roles may differ, we believe it is the responsibility of all to address human suffering wherever it is found, to protect our brothers and sisters from harm, and to promote the universality of human rights. We also believe it is our collective responsibility to invest in disaster risk management and climate change adaptation to prevent forced displacement. The people of CFSI come from diverse backgrounds, including different races, ethnic groups, religions, sexual orientations, experiences, and stations in life. We are, like you, part of the family that is humanity. Numbering in the thousands over 40 years, with most locally recruited, we have a common purpose: rebuilding lives. Specifically, protecting people from further harm, getting children in safe spaces and back to school, enabling crisis-affected communities to access basic services like food, water, shelter, and health care, including vaccinations. Rebuilding lives also means facilitating the resumption of livelihood activities and the development of new skills, the reconstruction of community infrastructure, fostering safe returns home, and promoting social justice. Our approach is needs-based, rights-oriented, empowering, and focused on solutions. Our work has benefited millions with operations in 10 countries, territories, over different periods of time. These include the Philippines, Myanmar, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Cambodia, Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Thailand, Malaysia, and Papua New Guinea. In addition, outreach efforts to many more countries. Our current top priorities are expanding ongoing humanitarian operations in Myanmar and the Philippines. The work is challenging and sometimes dangerous, but we are inspired by the resiliency, the courage, and the efforts of the affected populations. Think about the Vietnamese boat people who 30 years after resettlement in other parts of the world raised $500,000 for Filipinos displaced by Super Typhoon Haiyan. Grateful for the help given at the time, these Vietnamese gave back without waiting to be asked to help. Think about Timor-Leste, the new country that emerged from the ashes of violence just 2 decades ago, now working with its much larger neighbor, Indonesia, to create a shared future for the youth. Or those in Myanmar helping to protect and assist communities affected by persecution, violence, and the pandemic. Think about the brave souls throughout Asia, both near and far, who have stood up, are standing up for the rights, well-being, and dignity of others. Indeed, at cost only they know, which could include their lives. And think about those working year after year to build a just and lasting peace in war-torn Mindanao, helping children learn that arms are for hugging. What now for CFSI? We are firmly committed to working in partnership over the long haul with a range of stakeholders, especially affected communities and local actors, to provide humanitarian and development assistance, help build peace, prevent disasters, and promote social justice in Asia. This includes capacity strengthening efforts where necessary or advantageous. We ask for your help to do much more better. Concretely, to strengthen local capacity, we want to see at least another 500 persons in Southeast Asia obtain a master's degree in social work, and at least 10 with a doctoral degree in the same field by the year 2027. The aim is to ensure highly competent and committed social workers are prepared to lead humanitarian development and peace-building efforts in the future, helping to bring an end to forced displacement. Let us together enable more ordinary people to do and have extraordinary impact. On the personal level, I would like to thank profusely and express my deep, deep gratitude to the Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for recognizing my work, but more importantly, the work of CFSI. I would also like to thank, as well as hug, my family, loved ones, colleagues, friends, and supporters. None of what I have achieved in life would have been possible without you, each playing a unique role that combined made all the difference. In addition to my dear colleagues at CFSI, I'd like to thank the members of our Board of Trustees, both present and past, for your many years of voluntary service, your trust, your guidance, your support. Lastly, my thanks to our partners, the communities, those who serve with us in the humanitarian and development arenas, and those who provide us with the funds required to carry out our work. Your acceptance and your support have been and remain crucial, more so as we, encouraged by this award, move forward together in rebuilding lives. A parting thought. Many have asked what has kept me going in this work for more than 40 years and counting. Quite frankly, I believe every person is a holy place, meaning there is something of the divine in each of us. This, my brothers and sisters, is the basis for my firm conviction that we are indeed members of the same family, humanity.
The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Firdousi Kadri. In the current pandemic, science has become a subject of public discourse to a degree unprecedented in recent decades. Mostly, the pandemic has heightened public awareness of the vital role of science in improving the quality of life and preserving life itself. Bangladeshi Firdousi Kadri was born to a middle-class family that encouraged women in the family to pursue an education and a career. Interested in medical research, she earned a doctorate in biochemistry from Liverpool University in the United Kingdom. Set on working in her homeland, she joined in 1988 the International Center for Diarrheal Disease Research, Bangladesh ICDDR-B, an International Health Research Institute in Dhaka. Her most challenging engagements came in the fight against cholera and typhoid, major diseases in Asian countries like Bangladesh and African countries with poor access to safe water, sanitation, education, and medical care. In this, she had a key role in the development of a more affordable oral cholera vaccine, or OCV, and the typhoid conjugate vaccine, VI-TCV, for adults, children, and infants. Under the auspices of the World Health Organization and United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, she led a team of experts in the 2017 to 2020 mass vaccination of Rohingya refugees from Myanmar in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, thus preventing a mass cholera outbreak in what is the largest refugee camp in the world. In 2020, she helped facilitate the OCV vaccination of 1.2 million people in 6 high-risk districts of Dhaka. Not surprisingly, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Kadri was active in vaccine trials and COVID-19 testing and research in Bangladesh. Beyond current health interventions, Dr. Kadri dreams of building in Bangladesh the human and technical infrastructure for research in health science. It is a role she is well positioned to fill. In 2012, she was awarded the Christophe Rodolphe Grand Prize from the Fondation Christophe et Rodolphe Mérieux. 2 years later, she used her prize money to found the Institute for Developing Science and Health Initiatives. Dr. Kadri leads the institute, which conducts biomedical research and training courses. Dr. Kadri is devoted to mentoring young scientists and upgrading laboratories so that Bangladeshi scientists will not have to go abroad for a lack of facilities at home. Building local capability is her goal, as demonstrated in her work on typhoid and cholera vaccines, already approved in Bangladesh and other countries, her current work on E. coli diarrhea vaccine, and interest in COVID-19 vaccine development. Dedicated to science, she believes that finding answers to the health problems in her country will benefit other countries as well. She has worked in Bangladesh as a scientist for more than 40 years, but has no thought of retiring. Of her own research institute, she says, and I quote, "I want it to be bigger in the coming years and self-supporting in the future. It should carry out research at the highest level and have a good number of scientists who will carry out this work. I am looking at that in the future," unquote. In electing Firdousi Kadri to receive the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes her passion and lifelong devotion to the scientific profession. Her vision of building the human and physical infrastructure that will benefit coming generations of Bangladeshi scientists, women scientists in particular, and her untiring contributions to vaccine development, advanced biotechnical therapeutics, and critical research that have been saving millions of precious lives.
Firdousi Kadri of Bangladesh will now deliver her response.
Assalamu alaikum, good day. Her Excellency Maria Leonor Robredo, Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, Ramon Magsaysay Awardees, past and present, members of the family of President Ramon Magsaysay, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Executive Director, ICDDRB. Ladies and gentlemen, I am overwhelmed and extremely delighted, but also very humbled and thankful to the Magsaysay Foundation for this very great honor. I am grateful to the Foundation for selecting me, to those who have nominated me and supported my nomination. And of course, I thank my husband and friends, family and children, people of Bangladesh and my team at ICDDRB and IDESHI for their continued support. Dear friends, let me share with you the journey of my life until this day. I was born in Bangladesh in a middle-class family with many other girl siblings, in a family dominated by women. This matriarchal family was actually headed by my grandmother, Firdousi Bano, after whom I was named. She did not go to school herself, but she was self-taught and knew many languages. She believed in girls' education and saw to it from our childhood that we sisters learn to have a purpose and determination in our lives. She saw us after school every day with very tasty tiffin boxes each day and would always be waiting for us with hot lunches. She cooked and stitched pretty dresses for us and made us feel really special. It was for her that I grew up with a determination to do something purposeful. When I was around 5 years old, I think I already wanted to be in public health. And my first wish was to be Florence Nightingale. And from then onwards, I kept on changing my interests until I got into the University of Dhaka to study biochemistry and molecular biology. This was when I learned the details of the physiology, biochemistry, immunology, nutrition and molecular basis of life and the working of the human body. It was with great interest that I tried to assimilate all this information, and my efforts were always aligned to better understanding all the health and nutrition problems of people in this country. After completing my PhD from Liverpool, my husband and I returned to Dhaka within a week. I started teaching at the University of Dhaka and tried to carry out research, but it was very difficult for me to do both research and teaching simultaneously. Within 6 years, I realized that I was born a researcher and a full academic profession somehow left me dissatisfied. Although fortunate to start my profession as a teacher in the best university in Bangladesh, I was soon moved to ICDDRB to become a full-time researcher. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know how much you know about Bangladesh. In the beginning of my career, I had to learn a lot about the public health problems confronting our country. Infectious diseases in the 1980s were still a major killer in the country. Cholera and typhoid, though these are ancient diseases, were still causing so much pain and affliction and misery to people every day. Our ICDDRB hospitals were filled up mostly with people needing care for dehydrating diarrheal diseases, especially cholera. I involved and immersed myself in laboratory work to understand the immunological basis of these diseases. I started exploring ways to answer questions that still remain unaddressed. The role of vaccines to protect against these diseases appeared to me to be the most important solution in tackling these problems. Indeed, I was inspired by the work that was being carried out for so long at ICDDRB, both in clinical care and vaccine development. Although I published a lot, I soon realized that if I do not reach out to communities around me and try to help them, I would end up my career and not achieve anything. I then decided to focus on studies to reach out to protect people against cholera and typhoid using solutions offered by vaccines, which are the main public health tools or the short-term tools for eliminating disease from high-risk populations with poor access to clean water, sanitation, good living conditions, basically diseases of the poverty-stricken people. Respected audience, in 33 years of my research career, I have attempted to learn about different aspects of public health, which is needed for implementation science. I do not know how much I've been able to deliver and contribute. I'm grateful for this award to Bangladesh, to ICDDRB, the institution that has given me the environment and encouragement to carry out my work. And last but not least, to the great team I have in Bangladesh, in ICDDRB and all over the world, without whose support I could never have achieved anything. I thank my family for their support. Ladies and gentlemen, I finish on a very tragic, sad and personal note. My husband passed away just several hours after the official announcement of the Magsaysay Award on 31st August 2021. He could not hear this wonderful news. His encouragement and strong support in the 45 years of our marriage has made it possible for me to dedicate my life to science and balance family life with research. I remain indebted to him. I want to share a message. He wrote to me 46 years ago. Wish you Godspeed. May Allah grant you much glory in your search for knowledge. He is not here today to join in this celebration, but his wishes for me have come true. I feel his presence all the time, and he will always be with me. After receiving the Ramon Magsaysay Award, I now feel that I need to deliver even more for Bangladesh, for the people living in low and middle income countries of the world, for the people living in very fragile settings. The award has made me feel more responsible, and I promise to dedicate the rest of my life to public health and contribute to saving lives. Thank you very much.
The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Muhammad Magsaysay. Pakistan lies in the global center of the microfinance movement that is in the front lines of the war against poverty. Yet, about 50 million Pakistanis still live below the national poverty line. Clearly, much more work remains to be done. One organization and its founder are breaking fresh ground in the fight against poverty. Muhammad Magsaysay is a well-regarded consultant on social development for Pakistan's government and international development organizations. He felt he needed to do more. Thus, In 2001, Saqib invited a group of successful professionals and businessmen to present to them his plan for a first of its kind interest-free microfinance program, offering to design, organize, and implement it. His friends pledged their support, and funds were raised to capitalize the project. 2 years later, the organization called Akuat was formed. What distinguished Akuat is its philosophy. Akuat, brotherhood or sisterhood, is an approach to poverty alleviation based on the values of the Islamic tradition of Ma'akat that has for its core the Prophet Muhammad's teaching that if one has a loaf of bread, half of it rightly belongs to a person who has none. Related to this is the idea that charging interest, riba, on a loan is un-Islamic. Hence, the practice of the benevolent loan, which Saqib reminds us, was already there in early human societies. Quote, we just institutionalized it, end quote, Saqib says. As operational principles, Akuat uses places of worship for loan disbursements, promotes volunteerism among staff and clients, aims at transforming borrowers into donors, and fosters diversity and inclusion, serving all, irrespective of religion, caste, color, and gender. All these have proved to be a winning formula. Today, Akuat is the largest microfinance institution in Pakistan, offering a package of loans for the poor. It has distributed 4.8 million interest-free loans amounting to the equivalent of 900 million US dollars, helping 3 million families with a remarkable 99.9% loan repayment rate. Akuat's phenomenal growth has fueled its social support programs. Akuat has adopted hundreds of neglected public schools and established 4 residential colleges, one of them for women, for poor and deserving students. It runs a health services program helping hundreds of thousands of patients, a cloth bank that has distributed over 3 million cloths for the needy, and the program of economic and psychosocial services for the discriminated transgender community. In the COVID-19 pandemic, Akuat responded with emergency loans and grants, food relief, and other assistance in over 100 cities in Pakistan. People were skeptical about the sustainability of a no-interest, no-collateral loan program. Saqib is not worried. The Prophet's story of the loaf of bread, the call for empathy and solidarity, inspired many to help. Saqib has succeeded not only because of his expertise, but because he embraced the work of helping the poor as a call to face. Optimism in human goodness is central to his work. He says, quote, Akuat is a philosophy. It is now a mission of millions. Until a poverty-free society has been created, we won't let go. As long as there is an element of good and empathy in society, we will continue. End quote. In electing Muhammad Amjad Saqib to receive the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes the intelligence and compassion that enabled him to create the largest microfinance institution in Pakistan. His inspiring belief that human goodness and solidarity will find ways to eradicate poverty, and his determination to stay with a mission that has already helped millions of Pakistani families.
Muhammad Amjad Saqib from Pakistan will now deliver his response.
Her Excellency Maria Leonor Rodrigo, Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, the Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, my fellow 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardees, past recipients of the award, members of the Magsaysay family, distinguished diplomats, including our friends from the Philippine Embassy, Islamabad, government officials from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Philippines, and distinguished board members, Akhawat. Ladies and gentlemen, 1963, Akhtar Hamid Khan. 29 years later, in 1992, Mr. Shoaib Sultan Khan. And exactly 29 years later, now in 2021, I have, Alhamdulillah, joined my mentors and fellow countrymen in receiving Asia's most prestigious award. I'm humbled and honored. I'm no more than a torch bearer of a flame ignited by my mentors. Today, I take pride in walking along the path they have laid. There could be no greater honor. When an award is passed from teacher to student, it is no longer the recognition of an individual's efforts, but the validation of a concept and a legacy. Awards like this have special significance. They are not what you receive for an uphill task of climbing to the pinnacle, but instead, they are received for working on the ground and taking pride in the collective rise. This is an award that does not set you apart, but unifies you with humankind. That, for me, is the epitome of Akhawat, the brotherhood of mankind. My entire life's work and passion, and in the words of my spiritual mentor, Muhammad Iqbal, the Ishq. I started my career in the civil service of Pakistan and later parted ways, but in hindsight, it equipped me for the journey ahead. My work itself is neither new nor innovative, and I learned from no other than the teacher of all Muslims, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He, peace be upon him, laid the foundation for eradication of poverty, slavery, and exploitation through the message of Mawakhat or solidarity. What does Mawakhat mean? Ladies and gentlemen, it means one privileged household gives part of his possessions to one that has nothing. One neighborhood takes care of another, and one community accepts the responsibility to build one that has lost hope. This is a simple yet profound formula for the equitable distribution of wealth and resources. With this comes hand in hand the concept of small loans, free from interest and service charges, in the tradition of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and in fact, in the tradition of all religions of the world. The world is now beginning to realize the grave reality of failure of trickle-down approach and market economy that is bringing the world to its knees and sending individuals and nations into ever-increasing debt. Economists have long tried to resolve the issue of world poverty, but let me remind you of one such solution that was given 1450 years ago. We at Akhuvat have only reiterated the same philosophy of mabakhat and interest and collateral-free micro loans, and with it, the intrinsic belief in the goodness of humankind. I am privileged to acknowledge that Akhuvat has received the greatest support from the people of Pakistan. Equally, the government of Pakistan has committed to eradication of poverty and equitable growth for all. Our borrowers are our supporters, our successors, and our friends. They are the most trustworthy, bankworthy, and dedicated individuals who, despite the impediments they face, remind us to stay resilient in the face of adversity. They remind us of human dignity and self-respect. I would like to express my humble gratitude to Akhuvat's board of directors for their unwavering support to me and commitment towards our collective vision of creating a poverty-free world. I thank my friends, each and every one of our donors, for taking Akhuvat to a global level and helping us to establish the world's largest interest-free microfinance program. The journey, ladies and gentlemen, was not simple. Adversaries and skeptics always said, such programs are not sustainable. Yes, such programs are not sustainable, but for the grace of God, but for the spirit of sacrifice and giving. Programs like Akhuvat begin where conventional economic wisdom ends. As these programs don't believe in my share or cutthroat competition, they believe in sharing and altruism and in the spirit of sacrifice and giving. I would not be standing before you if it was not for the employees and volunteers of Akhuvat working selflessly in 400 cities across Pakistan, from the heights of Himalayas to the shore of Arabian Sea. I wish to thank all of you for your dedication, your commitment, and above all, your faith. When people would ridicule the concept of interest-free lending, you believed me when others doubted. You are responsible for turning a fool's dream into a pragmatic reality. I thank the Ahovath family, which never breached my trust and made possible an unbelievable 100% rate of return that to date puzzles the economic pundits. When you take on a family as large as Ahovath, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot help but at times sacrifice the moments you could be spending with your own family. My wife, Farah Hamjad, and my children, Junaid and Farazeen. It has been your continuous love that has given me the strength that I needed to carry forward this holy mission. It was your support and love that has given me the inner peace to take on the turmoil outside. Thank you for sharing the weight on my shoulders by always standing by my side. My heartfelt gratitude to the trustees of Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation. It's my pledge on behalf of Pakistan and on behalf of Ahovath that we will continue our struggle till we reach our goal of a peaceful and poverty-free world. A world where every child goes to school and every poor has shelter and medicine. To conclude, I would like to remember the man in whose honor we all are gathered here, the incomparable Ramon Magsaysay, who said that a country is like a pyramid. A country is like a tower. It is made up of millions of stones, and the foundation stone of this pyramid is the common man. Ladies and gentlemen, today, with immense appreciation, I accept this award on behalf of every foundation stone, on behalf of the common man and women whose commitment and faith in goodness, piety, and in a prosperous future remains unshaken, despite all difficulties and impediments. I am grateful to be a part of the Magsaysay community, creating new bonds of solidarity with friends from Asia. I believe the solution for poverty will be achieved by working in solidarity with the poor. Poverty is pain. Poverty is poison. We all remain poor until every single person in this world is poor. Let's rise. Together we will instill hope and become a voice for the voiceless, shelter for the shelterless, and hope for the hopeless. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May you all live long and live happily.
The 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Watchdog Media Mandiri. The rise of digital media carried with it the promise of democratization in the ways knowledge is produced, distributed, and consumed. and the ways the people themselves can directly and actively participate in media's making. This has not quite happened, but there are groups bravely forging ahead to see that the promise is fulfilled. In Indonesia, there is excitement and hope in the media venture called Watchdog Media Mandiri. Combining the tools of investigative journalism, documentary filmmaking, and digital technology, Watchdog's advocacy is to create public awareness of such issues as human rights, social justice, and the environment. The company was incorporated in 2011 by two remarkable individuals, Dandy Lacsono and Andy Pancha Curnyawan, media persons whose passion for social causes drove them to launch an independent, people-based, and socially responsible media organization. Strongly embedded in civil society, Watchdog draws its material from issues of public concern that have not been treated adequately in mainstream media or presented from the people's perspective. With a lean, permanent staff of 15, Watchdog sees itself as a movement and not just a content creator. To reach the greatest number of people, it taps non-traditional and emerging platforms and uses different distribution strategies. With its independently produced advocacy films, Watchdog builds a robust audience through offline distribution, social media, and other alternative channels, including partnerships with non-government organizations to screen films in remote indigenous communities. In less than a decade of existence, through its two YouTube channels and other platforms, Watchdog has produced and distributed over 150 film titles that average 200,000 viewers per video. 8 of its documentaries have each attracted more than 1 million views. One of them, called Sexy Killers, a documentary on the coal mining industry's links with Indonesia's political elite, is a viral hit, getting 36 million views as of July 2021. The group's adventurous spirit is exemplified by a major project in 2015 called Blue Indonesia Expedition, in which Lacsono and a co-filmmaker went on a motorbike journey across Indonesia for a year, filming what was happening to ordinary citizens like farmers, fishermen, and indigenous peoples. The journey resulted in a 12-part documentary film series exposing such problems as the environmental impact of the palm oil industry, the fight of locals against the construction of a cement factory, and other issues that generated a lot of attention from government and the public. A great part of Watchdog's influence is the credibility it enjoys because of its reputation for journalistic integrity. It does strongly researched, fact-based, quality work. It builds a constituency by staying close to its audience, holding pre-screenings and group discussions with non-government organizations and local communities. Watchdog is a young organization and knows societies are not changed overnight. Lacsono says, "We realize the goal is still very far away, even though the macro policy has not changed. If these small things become a movement, gradually it will be strong." In electing Watchdog Media Mandiri to receive the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Award for Emergent Leadership in an Organization, the Board of Trustees recognizes its highly principled crusade for an independent media organization, its energetic use of investigative journalism, documentary filmmaking, and digital technology in its effort to transform Indonesia's media landscape, and its commitment to a vision of the people themselves as makers of media and shapers of their own world.
Watchdog Media Mandiri
of Indonesia will now deliver their response, represented by Watchdog founder Andy Pancha Kurniawan.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, on behalf of my colleagues from Watchdog Media Mandiri, let me express my deepest gratitude for this award, appreciation, and recognition. To be recognized and acknowledged as a Ramon Magsaysay Awardee for Emergent Leadership is a great honor and a great pleasure for us. We are motivated and our spirits are boosted to make more documentary films and to promote human rights louder and clearer through them. It's like a new social contract between Watchdog and the broader community across state borders. For your information, Watchdog is a production house that has released more than 400 documentaries and 1,000 television features. This includes various films such as Sexy Killers, The Endgame, Kinipan, The Mahuzes, Asymmetries, and hundreds of other works that are mostly accessible online. Watchdog films have been distributed through various platforms, through the traditional public screening in many villages, in schools and campuses, to commercial cinema networks, television, and now the internet. Watchdog also manages an inclusive video production training unit for all, including the villagers. We are doing this because consciously we are a small organization were not able to cover the whole issues in the area at the same time. 12 years ago, we pioneered the production house Watchdog. 10 years ago, we formalized into a private production house. We imagine to be an integral part of social movement, making documentaries as a communication tool for us to learn from each other, to strengthen each other, and to become a platform for the struggles of civil society. To realize the social movement, we imagine our production focus on themes concerning public interest and the function of the media in influencing and shaping society. Watchdog combines this with an inclusive distribution strategy, easily accessible by a wide audience. And as the media chooses to form private companies as a method of achieving sustainability. This award has also become an important moment when we are committing to continue what we have started. It is a reminder that we must all increasingly and systematically strive to present realities in society. Because these awards are given to organizations or institutions, not specific individuals or films. We would like to dedicate this award to all the Watchdog communities, those who have been working with us, all our viewers, ASEAN people, and all of you. Thank you to the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, to our predecessors who have received this award, and to the people of Asia. You are all a source of inspiration and a positive energy for the civil society movement today and in the future. Once again, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Herona Robredo.
Former President Fidel V. Ramos, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, the members of the Magsaysay family, Chairman Aurelio Montinola III, and the members of the Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, Ms. Susan Afan, President of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardees, and the past awardees, my fellow workers in government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Over the course of its 63-year history, the Ramon Magsaysay Awards Foundation has had to cancel its annual ceremonies only thrice. First, during the 1970 financial crisis, and the next one, in 1990, when a powerful earthquake shook the island of Luzon. In those first two instances, the awards had to give way to pressing crises here in the Philippines. The third one was last year, which, as you all know, was a year of great disruption, not only in the country that the RMAF has called home since its inception, but across the entire globe. Today, we gather not because the pandemic is over. Our presence in this virtual space is proof enough that uncertainties remain. Vaccines notwithstanding, we have seen how new variants of the COVID-19 virus can emerge, threatening our momentum towards normalcy. Hospitals are just now getting a breather after a year and a half of tremendous strain. Economies around the world have yet to recover. So many have lost their jobs or their entire savings. So many have lost loved ones. So many have died. We resume this annual tradition not necessarily in triumph over a darkness that still lurks, but in recognition of the human spirit that cannot be dimmed despite that darkness, that persists despite adversity, that in the face of suffering or desolation does not turn away or shrink, but rather expands with courage and compassionate resolve. We honor in these ceremonies 4 individuals and an organization that embody the spirit. In 2001, Muhammad Amjad Saqib and a group of friends came together, seeking to put in practice a concept one would consider radical, were it not based on the Islamic tradition of mawakat. The idea that if one has a loaf of bread, half of it rightfully belongs to a person who has none. 2 years later, they opened a kuwat, offering interest-free loans to the people of Pakistan. They have to date served 3 million families and built a sense of trust and communal responsibility among their borrowers. In Bangladesh, Dr. Firdousi Kadri dedicated her life to the laboratory, and her skills as a biochemist became instrumental in developing a more affordable oral cholera vaccine and a typhoid conjugate vaccine. In the years before the pandemic, she led a team that delivered vaccines to Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, preventing what could have been a mass cholera outbreak in the largest refugee camp in the world. Stephen Munsey, along with his colleagues at Community and Family Services International, has spent the past 4 decades working to help the most vulnerable among us, those uprooted by persecution, armed conflict, disasters, and other exceptionally difficult circumstances. His humanitarian mission continues, building peace and providing assistance to refugees in some of the most challenging environments in Southeast Asia, including Marawi, where I myself stood witness to how the effects of war can linger long after the last rifle has been put away. The Ramon Magsaysay Award for Emergent Leadership has traditionally been given to individuals. Watchdog is the first organization to be granted the award in this field, and rightfully so. For the past decade, Watchdog has been shifting the media landscape in Indonesia through fearless, people-oriented, and digitally resonant investigative journalism. At a time when narratives have become malleable, often to serve powerful interests, it takes leadership to dig for the truth and present it in a way that elevates public discourse. Our final awardee story is one that is very close to my heart. Roberto Balion, Kadodoy, to those who know him, is a fisherman whose efforts resuscitated the ailing seas in his province of Zamboanga, Sibugay. When unsustainable practices led to dwindling catch, he pulled his community together to plant mangroves, achieving a delicate, compassionate balance in an ecosystem that has been a life source for generations of fisherfolk. Kadodoy then expanded his efforts to neighboring municipalities, planting hundreds of hectares of mangrove forests and improving the quality of life for many in the entire province. When poverty strips people of their ability to take hold of their own destiny, when disease threatens those who have already lost so much to prejudice and inequality, when conflict tears people from their homes, their culture, their hope and memory, when silence and lies shrink the space for important stories to be told, when even the seas cry out for reprieve from the insatiable drive to extract and consume, we look to people such as the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardees and their fellows from across the decades as examples of how humanity ought to respond. We look to them now in the face of ongoing crisis and in anticipation of those yet to come. The world is still reeling from a pandemic that has exposed entrenched injustices in many of our systems. The pursuit of a better normal in its midst requires us to take stock, to ask ourselves whether the way we live, the way we see our fellow human beings, the way we dream, will yield the future that we want for coming generations. As the novelist Arundhati Roy said early in the pandemic, and I quote, "Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world." Close quote. And so we ask now, what is this future we are tasked to imagine? Examining the lives of our awardees, we find powerful clues. It is a future where, as the Mawaka teaches, loaves of bread are treated not as leverage to move ahead of others, but as levers that can pull them up, where the yields of human knowledge are not stockpiled to save only those who can afford it, but are shared with all, where those who have lost their homes to war can not only expect shelter, but are welcomed and shown pathways to their dreams, where the truth does not need to be dug up and sorted from the debris of disinformation, but is treated as the very baseline of communications, where we see ourselves not as overseers free to exploit the resources of the planet, but as one nexus among many in an intricate and interdependent web of life. It is a future where rights and freedom and fairness and dignity are upheld, not only when convenient, but as a matter of human survival. A future where empathy is the default, where every child grows up valuing every other human being, knowing that to devalue another, to hurt another, means to hurt ourselves. This is the lesson of the pandemic. We need to build a future of true and radical solidarity. Reflecting on these thoughts, I now ask, is this not the future that government should be dedicated to building? This future where private individuals and organizations need not fill the gaps in the system with their compassion because the system itself is compassionate. For too long, service has been treated as taglines at worst and as acts of charity at best. When people are in dire need, it is supposed to be the structures of society that address these needs, and not some benevolent leader handing down projects and programs as a lord of the manor does to his servants. Inclusiveness should not be a matter of charity. It is the very rationale of governance. And this revelation can only be put into practice if those who govern truly understand the meaning of solidarity, walking in the slippers of the people, not for show, but for real, feeling their despair, carrying their burdens as their own. Only then can the structures blurred by patronage be seen with moral clarity and be reformed, reoriented, or even dismantled to give way to a society animated by radical solidarity. Such change will not happen overnight, or in 3 to 6 months, or even the span of a single presidency. It might take lifetimes. But much like Kadodoy's mangrove forests, we need to start walking into the brackish waters, bending our backs, and planting, seedling by seedling, until the sea itself notices. This is what it takes to build the future. Thank you. Again, congratulations to our awardees and to the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for their tireless efforts to recognize the greatness of the human spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present to you the 2021 Ramon Magsaysay Awardees. Roberto Balyon of the Philippines, Stephen Mansi of Southeast Asia, Firdousi Kadri of Bangladesh, Mohammed Amjad Saki of Pakistan, Watchdog Media Mandiri of Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, our heroes that make us proud to be Asian. The 63rd Ramon Magsaysay Award Ceremonies has now concluded. Thank you so much for your presence.